Who are the top 100 NFL players entering the 2024 NFL season? What's going on, football fans? It's Mitch back here with another NFL rankings reaction. In this video, I will react and give you my opinion on Pete Prisco's top 100 players in the NFL today. Pete Prisco at CBS comes out with an annual top 100 players each and every season in the offseason, entering a new season, and it's often criticized. It's often scrutinized, and I often check it out to see if he's right. So in this video, I'm going to check out to see if it's right, accurate, give you my opinion on the placement of certain players on this list, and I'm going to see where my certain opinions line up with Pete's. Obviously, this is subjective. These are the top 100 players in the NFL. There are many great players in the NFL, but I'm just going to give you my opinion on whether or not he nailed it or if he totally whiffed on this year's top 100 players of 2024. So let's begin. And guys, spike the like button for more NFL reactions just like this, and also subscribe for more videos and NFL content just like this. Also, hop in the comments and let me know your opinion on Pete's list. What do you love? What do you hate? And what would you change? Let's go, man. Let's go. Let's check it out. So, Pete Prisco of CBS NFL top 100 players of 2024. The title is Patrick Mahomes reigns again. Myles Garrett, top defender in Pete Prisco's rankings. Pete Prisco shares his top 100 best players entering the new season. This was available 6 hours ago as of June 18th, 2024. So this is very, very recent. Today it came out. So just a little blurb at the top. Picking the best player in the NFL is easy, a layup, a gimme putt. It's Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes and then everybody else. Mahomes has 2 straight Super Bowls, blah, 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 blah. Mahomes might be on his way to being the best player of all time, and not just quarterback, but the best player. Mahomes, who once again is the #1 ranked player in my annual list, has a chance to three-peat this season, which would give him 4 Super Bowl wins in 7 seasons as a starter. Now he goes on to hate on Tom Brady. Tom Brady is considered the best quarterback of all time with his 7 Super Bowl rings, but one more for Mahomes would make an interesting argument for who is the GOAT. No, it wouldn't. My count would mean that he still has 3 rings to tie him, and he also lost to him in his 40s twice in the playoffs. So just saying, just putting that out there. Along with numerous records that Tom Brady would still hold. So, no, I disagree with this. And this is just the entrance. I haven't even looked at the list yet. But I don't know why he decided to start off his list by just kind of like praising Mahomes and just absolutely dismissing Tom Brady. Because then he goes on to talk about, as for the greatest player of all time, I would go with Jerry Rice. Now, I've heard this argument before, but like, honestly, can a receiver, any receiver, no matter how dominant, be the greatest player of all time? In my opinion, no. Like, the greatest player of all time is the greatest quarterback of all time. Let's just be fair. Like, let's be honest. Like, the quarterback has so much power. If it was not Tom Brady before him, it might have been Joe Montana, or you might have said it was Peyton Manning, or you might have said it was Johnny Unitas, or you might have said it was Otto Graham. I don't care, okay? But Jerry Rice, who's the greatest receiver of all time, he says, but what makes him the best player is that there is no argument about the best receiver, but there actually kind of is. You know, Jerry Rice, obviously, if you just look at it objectively in terms of statistics, yes, Jerry Rice, the greatest receiver of all time. But I've heard plenty of people argue that Randy Moss is the greatest receiver of all time, or that Julio or AB or Megatron or T.O., or depending on preference of what they like in a receiver, is the greatest receiver of all time. Like, I've definitely heard that. Okay, so there's definitely argument. But anyways, just continuing here, we'll get to the list here in a second. He's basically saying that Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL and he can become the GOAT. I would just simply not understand. I guess he's a Tom Brady hater. I didn't really know that about him. But anyways, we're going to discuss the list. Okay, so at #1, he has Patrick Mahomes. His numbers were down last season, but he showed in the playoffs that he is the best player in the league. and on his way to being considered the best ever. So he once again lays that down on his top 100 that Mahomes will be the greatest player ever. If he three-peats this season, it's time to say he's the best ever, question mark. So I guess this is the narrative he's going to be driving over at CBS. That's fine. That's his prerogative. You know where I stand, and probably many of you, other than Chiefs fans, stand on that. But anyways, Patrick Mahomes, number one, don't disagree. I think that's correct. I will say, though, I think, like, honestly, his playoff run is a little overrated this past season. Like, he had one drive against the Ravens. He played great against the Dolphins, who were a beat-up defense. He played great against the Bills, who had half their defense. And he played a half against the Niners that was really good, but the first half was really bad. So I'd honestly say that he played about 2 games against 2 bad defenses, objectively, in Miami and Buffalo that were both injured. And he played a drive against Baltimore and a half against the Niners. And the Niners got shredded in the previous 2 games. So I would say that Mahomes had a pretty weak season for his standards, and he also had a pretty, average playoff run. But the fact that he was able to come up in the clutch in many moments in the playoffs would enable him to be number one. And I think just overall watching him play and the maturity in his game from an intelligence and a control of the game standpoint is where I feel he has really grasped the quarterback position and become the number one quarterback with a bullet. Is the way that he now is able to control the pace of the game, the way that he is able to make correct decisions. This is something that he was not always good at in the early portion of his career, but he has taken a page from Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or these guys, Aaron Rodgers even, to the degree where they are able to control the game at the line of scrimmage, make the correct decisions, scramble when you need to scramble, throw the ball away when you need to throw it away, and actually understanding the strength of his team, which was the defense of the Chiefs. And I would say that, yeah, the regular season numbers were not pretty at all. He did not have an objectively good year. This season was one where you have to look past the numbers in order to put Patrick Mahomes number one, but I think that is fair. Okay, so at number 2, Myles Garrett. He is the defensive player of the year, getting 14 sacks and leading the league in pressures. I'm actually not sure if he did or not, but that's what Pete says here. Anyways, but I don't hate putting Myles Garrett number 2. Like, he's definitely got an argument for the best defensive player in the NFL. I may have a different opinion on that. I feel like Garrett is certainly in the discussion. I think a couple of others are also in the discussion, though. So based on what he said in the Jerry Rice thing, where, Jerry Rice is objectively the best player ever because no one has an argument. If that's your argument, I think you would have to put Christian McCaffrey number 2, right? Because I think objectively, nobody puts anybody ahead of Christian McCaffrey. And Christian McCaffrey on his list is number 8. So, yeah, I don't really get where that sort of conversation in the beginning of his article really transfers to his list. Because having Trent Williams number 3 obviously makes sense because not many people argue that Trent Williams is not the best left tackle or the best tackle in general in the NFL. So if you have Trent Williams 3 and you have Christian McCaffrey 8, that just doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense just in terms of the way that he's patterning here. But I will say that Myles Garrett is very, very good, and I do not hate the selection of him being number 2. But I definitely feel like TJ Watt, who he has at number 5, could definitely be argued the best defensive player in the NFL. The only thing that TJ Watt needs to do is stay on the field. But I think in terms of game-changing plays and consistently making big plays in big moments, TJ Watt is that dude. Now, Myles Garrett to me is more of a fundamentally sound player. I think he's more of a scheme-diverse player. I think that he could play in every defense and be a Pro Bowl player. While I do feel maybe TJ Watt benefits slightly from playing in Pittsburgh and that specific scheme, but the guy is special, right? I think both of them are Hall of Fame talents. I would also say that Micah Parsons and Nick Bosa belong in that conversation. It's nice to see that we have multiple defensive players in the top 10. So I do really like this list so far. I do think he's right about Tyreek Hill being the best receiver in the NFL based on last season. He also says that his speed scares the daylights out of defensive backs and defensive coordinators. Great statement right there. He changes the way that teams play with his ability to run by people and turn short passes into big plays, catching 119 passes the last season in Miami. So, yeah, Tyreek Hill the last 2 seasons, I would argue, has been the best receiver in the NFL. 1,700 yards in back-to-back seasons is rare. That very rarely happens. So Tyreek Hill is, to me, the game-changing best receiver in football. Justin Jefferson might be the most well-rounded and potentially the best next year or the year after. And you could have made an argument for Jefferson the year before, obviously. But I think the last 2 years combined, Tyreek has definitely been the best receiver in football. Arguably the offensive player of the year this past season in the conversation with Christian McCaffrey. So I think him being in the top 5 is correct. The only thing I don't like is that McCaffrey is all the way down at number 8. I think if you're just looking, I know that he's a running back, but if you're just talking about what does a player at that position need to achieve and need to be able to do, when you're talking about running the football, with vision, quickness, power, speed, McCaffrey does pretty much everything at an elite level. When you're talking about pass blocking, when you're talking about catching the football, when you're talking about running routes, when you're talking about toughness, when you're talking about big playability, when you're talking about intelligence, there's just very few things that McCaffrey does not do at a very, very high level. He has this generation's Marshall Faulk, in my opinion. So I just don't really understand why he is not higher. But other than that, I really do not see much that I dislike. Josh Allen being the second best quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion, is a correct statement. Being at number 6, I would probably have him a spot or 2 or 3 higher. I think he's a top 5 player in the NFL, so I slightly disagree with that. But he does say here that Josh Allen has led the NFL in total yards and touchdowns this past season, when combining his passing and rushing touchdowns. Yet the perception was he didn't play well. That is absolutely 100% correct, and applause, okay, to Pete Prisco for pointing that out. Because despite Josh Allen putting up prolific numbers, far surpassing both Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, the guy that won the Super Bowl and the MVP, we still say that Allen did not play well last year, despite having drastically better numbers than both of those players in regards to the two most well-regarded stats, right? Yards and touchdowns, okay? They say he turns the ball over too much, but he was a legitimate MVP candidate last year and will be again this season. Absolutely correct. I will say that the turnover the ball too much thing is, I think, a little bit too talked about, because a lot of other guys have worse turnover play percentages than Josh Allen. I mean, the same top quarterbacks in the league, like Patrick Mahomes, are very similar in terms of their numbers in turnovers. So I just think for Josh, it's just overplayed because of the interceptions that he does have. They're really bad. Like the way that he turns it over, it looks bad to the eyes. But the actual pure number in terms of the amount of plays that he has the football, in terms of the amount of turnovers he has, is actually not that high compared to some of the other players in the league. Justin Jefferson at number 7 is fine. He didn't play all that much this season. Maybe I'll refresh just so we can get the pictures here. I want to get the pictures if we can get the pictures. All right. Yeah, there we go. So Justin Jefferson, injuries limited him to 9 starts last season, which is why he had a career low 68 catches in his 4th season, but he averaged 107.4 receiving yards per game, which was his career best. That's a ridiculous yards per game, 107.4. But yeah, Justin Jefferson is absolutely a top 10 player in the NFL, like if you don't include the injury from last year. I do agree with that. Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa. I really do like this top 10 without having to really think about it. Maybe I'll see a player down the list that I feel like it should be a little bit higher. But Nick Bosa, I didn't think had like an amazing year last season. He did move from Pete's list from number 4 to number 10. And I think that's totally fair. His sack number fell from 18.5 to 10.5, but he wasn't as dominant last season as he was the year before. He had just one double-digit sack game last season after having 4 in 2022. He's still awesome, though. And I think the thing you love about Nick Bosa is he is great in the pass and the run game. He plays with great power and great finesse. And I think he's just a very complete edge rusher, especially in that defense, where he's able to string together, just some incredible rushes with both power, technique, and quickness. So he has a lot of different dimension to his game. So I really like that. Micah Parsons is probably the most explosive defensive player in the NFL. He ranks at number 9. He has 40.5 sacks in 3 seasons, including 14 last year, to put him in the conversation as the best rusher in the game. He moved around a lot in his 3 seasons with the Cowboys, but he is the best when rushing the passer off the edge. Absolutely correct. Now, I think Parsons, you could argue, could be the most valuable because of all the different ways you can move him around. I think he's the most versatile defender in the NFL. I do think he's a little bit weaker against the run than somebody like Nick Bosa or Myles Garrett for sure, and even TJ Watt. But I think his overall explosiveness that he brings to blitzes, that he brings to the second level or even the edge rush position, he can take over games because of how fast he can get there. And you have to be aware of that on every play. Max Crosby being at number 11, I absolutely love how high he is ranked on this list after only being graded number 38 last year. According to Pete, I think that is a correction that is well taken by Pete, because Max Crosby has been one of the best players in the NFL for the past 3 years. So Max Crosby is unbelievable. I think in terms of his run defense, I think he might be the best at his position in the NFL. He sets the edge unlike anybody else. His motor and his ability to play on every snap is absolutely ludicrous. And, he did have 14.5 sacks with limited help on his defensive line last year. He also was among the league leaders in pressures, he says, showing off an ability to take over a game. His relentlessness should put him in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation again this year. I can't wait to see him and Christian Wilkins work together. Sauce Gardner at number 12. Okay. I think that might be a little bit too high, honestly. Would I take Sauce Gardner over Joe Burrow or Chris Jones? Maybe moving forward over Chris Jones, just because Jones is getting a little bit older, but I guess it's hard because one's a quarterback and one's a cornerback, but, Sauce is probably the best corner in the league. So I get that, but at the same time, is he better than Joe Burrow? I don't know. Sauce Gardner, he followed up an impressive rookie season, or even Lamar, I think that 4 quarterbacks should be in the top 15. And, he's pretty close on that. He has Lamar at 16. He won his second MVP last season, but the next step is getting his team to the Super Bowl. He has improved greatly as a passer, which he should continue in year 2 under Todd Monken. Having the MVP at 16 seems a little bit low, but Joe Burrow at 15, he was limited to 10 games in 2023 because of his calf strain following a season-ending wrist injury. The latter basically ending the Bengals' playoff chances. When on the field, he's a star, but he has to stay there. That's the only thing holding him back. Number 3 last year. Yeah, Joe Burrow, when he's healthy, is a top 5 player in the NFL, probably. So, yeah. But Sauce Gardner, I don't know what you guys think. You think he's too high? Jamar Chase at number 13. He is the number 3 receiver on this list, I believe. Which I think in pure talent is fair. But based on production, I don't know if you could put Jamar Chase this high on the list. I think he is probably a little bit too high. Now, he is a very good player, don't get me wrong, but based on production, it's not his best season last year, and overall, his production has been surpassed by other receivers. So, he says, even with Joe Burrow missing time, he had a big season for the Bengals, had a career best 100 catches with 7 touchdowns. Expect the Bengals to lock him up with a big contract soon. I definitely think overall, he's a top 25, top 20 player in the NFL pretty consistently, Jamar Chase. But at the same time, I do feel like based on last year and entering this season, I think that he should rank lower. I definitely think Burrow and Jackson should be higher. I think Chris Jones, based on last year, should be probably higher. Looking at this list now, we're starting to get into a little bit of a controversial space. Penei Sewell at 17 feels a little bit high, but I don't necessarily feel like it necessarily is. I do love that the offensive linemen are getting some respect here, though. He's arguably the best right tackle in the NFL. I do think Lane Johnson still is in that conversation, though, so it'll be interesting to see where Lane Johnson ends up ranking here. But now entering his 4th season, he's emerged as one of the best offensive linemen. He is massive, athletic, and can maul in the run game. He has it all. I don't disagree with any of that. I don't. Travis Kelce, is he a top 20 player in the NFL anymore? He definitely was in the playoffs, but not in the last regular season. So I think Kelce might be a little bit overrated here just because of his age, the name value, all that stuff, and the playoff run he had. When you really think back to what he did last year, he's probably a little bit too high on this list. But again, he's Travis Kelce, so it's kind of hard to look past what he was able to do in the playoffs. He wasn't quite as good last year as he says he's been in his career, but with Too many drops, he also says. That's also true. I forgot about that. But he still remains one of the best in the league. A bad year for him was catching 93 passes, but his yards per target fell to 10.6. That's what I'm concerned about. His explosiveness, his yards after catch, really wasn't the same for a majority of the season. The lowest of his career, but he did amp it up in the postseason with 32 catches in 4 games, which is crazy, right? He was number 6 last year. Dexter Lawrence, I'm glad to see him in the top 20. I think he could even arguably be higher on this list. I do see a defender that should be in this top 20 that I don't think is in this top 20. He's a massive man in the middle for the New York defense who makes it tough to run inside, but he's also a power pass rusher who can really push the pocket, which makes him far more than just a one-dimensional run stuffer. Yeah, he was dominant. He was like PFF's number 1 defensive lineman last year. He was, a force in terms of pressures, pass rushing productivity. He's obviously great in the run game. Lawrence is the star on a really, really bad team, which is often hard to do too. So give him a lot of credit. So the one ranking I think is absolutely insanity right now on this entire list so far is Aaron Rodgers being at number 20. Aaron Rodgers is nowhere close to being the 20th best player in the NFL. Like, not even in the conversation. It's not even he might not even be in the top 100. If I were making a top 100, Aaron Rodgers might not be on my top 100. That might be crazy to state because he's Aaron Rodgers, right? He's a Hall of Famer. And Pete Prisco infamously and famously, I should say, loves Aaron Rodgers and hates Tom Brady. So, Aaron Rodgers is his guy. So I kind of get him putting this high on this list. But the last time Aaron Rodgers played, his team went 8-9 and his numbers were pedestrian, average, mid, right? Like, he wasn't a great player. Jordan Love took basically the same team to the playoffs and improved their record. So, Aaron Rodgers is not the same player he used to be, even with the Achilles being removed. And now you add the Achilles being injured, and that changes the conversation completely. I don't know how you can entrust Aaron Rodgers at number 20. That's just insane to me. He says he's coming off an Achilles tendon suffered in week 1, which ended his season last year. Now he's back healthy, which makes the Jets a contender. They can be very good. I don't disagree with that. When on the field, he is still a big-time thrower of the football at age 40. I don't know if we know that. So Aaron Rodgers, I think, is the worst ranking so far. CeeDee Lamb, I think you could argue, is in the top 20. So I like him at number 21. I also like these graphics a lot, by the way. Shout out to CBS graphic team there. Fred Warner as the best linebacker in the league at number 22. I honestly think that a different linebacker is the best linebacker in the league. He happens to play for Baltimore, but I don't necessarily disagree that Fred Warner is a top 25 player. So, that's kind of where, I would just have the other player higher on my list. Tristan Wirfs at 24. I love that he's the 3rd ranked tackle in the NFL. I'd probably have him 2nd, if I'm being honest. But, if you have Sewell as the best right tackle and Wirfs as the 2nd best left tackle, that's totally fair. That's cool. But he made a smooth transition from right to left. Again, plays both sides of the line, ridiculous. Continuing to be a dominant offensive lineman, he wants to be paid like it. He did move up 22 spots, which I love. Josh Allen at 23 seems high. I think Josh Allen's a really good player, but 23rd best player in the NFL does seem pretty high. He did have a breakout season, 17.5 sacks, as he points out here in 2023, earning a big contract extension from the team. He's a relentless pass rusher who is good against the run as well. I'd say that he's a really great pass rusher, and I love his versatility to be able to be a great athlete, drop into coverage. He's a good run player. I don't think he's a great run player, but he's definitely a game wrecker in the pass game, which you have to appreciate. But, looking at this list, I think A.J. Brown maybe should be a bit higher. Pat Surtain at 25, I don't hate it. Playing on a bad team, he has established himself as one of the best corners in the game, if not the best. His play tailed off some after a special 2022 season, but he is still in the mix to be considered the best in the league. I don't think he played that well last year in terms of his standard from 2022. So that's where I would maybe lower him on the list. Maybe up a guy like A.J. Brown. I definitely think Davante Adams is too high. He has 100 or more catches in 4 consecutive seasons, including 103 for a quarterback-troubled team. I do agree with that. He didn't play with the best quarterback play. His yards per catch went down 4 yards, which is kind of concerning, right? So A.J. Brown isn't better than Davante Adams, in my opinion. Quinnen Williams is the defender I was talking about that should probably be in the top 20. I think Quinnen Williams is arguably the best pure 3-tech in the NFL. So, you look at Like, he's a power player in the middle of the Jets defense, a guy who can be a menace for offensive lines. His sack numbers fell from 12 to 5.5 last season, but his pressure rate was better than the year before. He had him at number 28 this past season. Quinnen Williams only had 5.5 sacks last year. It does not feel that way. But anyways, yeah, he's a dominant player. Chris Lindstrom as the best guard in the league. That's, I guess, fair. He was for PFF. Trent McDuffie at 30 feels a bit too high, considering I didn't even think he was better than L'Jarius Sneed last year. But I definitely feel like Trent McDuffie is a top 50 player in the league, probably. He had his best season helping the Chiefs defense lead them to a Super Bowl victory. He played in the slot for the second half of the season and showed off his skills, including the run and the pass. Antoine Winfield Jr. as the best safety in the NFL, I believe, on this list. The do-it-all safety was recently rewarded the big long-term deal. He can cover, blitz, and play the run. Yeah, I mean, he's arguably the most well-rounded safety in the league. Is he the best safety in the league? That's debatable, I think. But I definitely feel like in this range is where he belongs on the list. So I honestly don't have too many issues with the list so far, continuing to go through it here. Jordan Mailata at 32, I can't really necessarily disagree with, although I still think Lane Johnson is a better player. Trey Hendrickson kind of feels maybe a little too high for Trey Hendrickson, but again, another great year from him after a down year rushing the passer in 2022. Was it? I don't know. Was it? 17.5 sacks in 2023. Yeah, he had a great season in terms of sacks. There's no question there. Jalen Johnson. Okay, I like that spot. Kyle Hamilton. That's the guy that maybe is the best safety in the league too. Like him and Winfield are like kind of arguing for that spot. I still don't see Roquan Smith, which is a little concerning. George Kittle at 37. He's continued to be one of the best combo tight ends. Continued to be one of the league's best. No, he is the best combo tight end in the NFL. The best, not one of the best. Okay, he is a dominant blocker, yes. Nobody else in the league it blocks like George Kittle and catches like George Kittle. So I think Kittle is around this spot, but I would also say that that's probably where I think him and Kelsey are a bit closer, because he has Kelsey at like 18, which is like 20 spots higher than George Kittle, which does not feel accurate to me, So I don't know. I don't think he's 20 spots better than George Kittle at this point in his career. CJ Stroud. Special. I like that he has him this high. I think that's the fifth quarterback on the list, or sixth quarterback. Sixth quarterback on the list, because he has Aaron Rodgers in his top 20, which is absolutely insane. So yeah, he has his sixth quarterback here at 38. I think that's fair. Stroud is a top 50 player for sure, in my opinion. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I like it. Roquan Smith, there he is at number 40. I just would have him higher. I think I'd have Roquan higher. I'd have Hamilton higher. I'd have Hendrickson lower. Mailata maybe a little bit lower. Jalen Johnson maybe a little bit lower. Kittle, it's hard to rank him. McDuffie would be lower for me. Quinnen would probably be higher. AJ would be higher. Adams would be lower. Surtain would be lower. So, yeah, there's still some guys that I don't see quite yet that might be a little bit higher on my list. Herbert at 41, pretty close to Stroud, I think is very fair. I like that. Stroud, in my opinion, is certainly a top 7 quarterback in the NFL. Jalen Waddle at number 42 is way too high. I don't understand why Jalen Waddle. So wait, hold on. Jalen Waddle is so I'm just going through these receiver rankings. So he's got Tyreek, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Who's fourth? CeeDee's fourth. Okay, I don't disagree with any of that, really. Number 5 is Devontae Adams. Number 6 is A.J. Brown. Number 7 is Amon-Ra, which seems maybe a little high. Number 8 is Jalen Waddle. The 8th best receiver in the NFL is Jalen Waddle? I don't know about that, man. That seems very high. That seems very high. So, last year he was 62. I think that is probably a better ranking. He caught 72 passes for a 14.1 yard average and 4 touchdowns last year. Like, say that again. How is he the 42nd best player in the NFL? He caught 72 passes, 14.1 yards per catch, which isn't great. It's not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's not like phenomenal. And 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns. All the numbers were down. How is he the 42nd best player in the NFL? There's just a couple rankings in here that are really, really interesting. Jalen Ramsey is probably better than Jalen Waddle, at least based on last year. Jesse Bates is certainly better than Jalen Waddle. There's no question about that. He's probably the best free safety in the NFL. Best pure free safety in the NFL is Jesse Bates. There's no debate. I do think that the top 3 safeties on his list are accurate, though. I do think that he has the top 3 safeties. Maybe not in the right order, but I think around there. I think Brandon Ayuk is definitely better than Jalen Waddle. 75 catches, 7 touchdowns, and he did have more yards per catch than Jalen Waddle, 17.9. Now, that is phenomenal, considering he caught 75 passes, which was the best in the league for players with 70 or more catches. There you go. So Ayuk, yeah, it's definitely better than Jalen Waddle. Justin Madubuike, getting some respect at 46. I like that. Aiden Hutchinson getting some respect at 47 after not being ranked last year. Madubuike not being ranked. Ayuk wasn't ranked. Jesse Bates wasn't even ranked, which is surprising. Jalen Ramsey moved down about 30 spots, which honestly, I kind of felt like he played better this year than last year. Am I the only one that thinks that? I don't know. I think he was just overrated last year, but maybe that's it. Creed Humphrey getting some respect as the best center in the NFL. I can't necessarily disagree with that. I think now that Jason Kelsey's retired, I think that's probably accurate. Dak Prescott as the 8th best quarterback in the NFL, which he commonly kind of comes up in that range. Last year, he wasn't even ranked. For all the criticism he gets, he led the NFL in touchdown passes last season with 36. The knock on him is postseason play, which I think is totally warranted, by the way. But he's still a good quarterback. One of the Cowboys need to sign to an extension. I don't know. It depends on how much money. I don't know if I would be willing to sign Dak because he's not been able to get it done in the playoffs. I might just start fresh. But that's just my wacky opinion. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments. But Dak Prescott, I think, is in the top 10 quarterbacks, definitely in the NFL. But I do feel like number 8, I'd probably have Stafford ahead of him. But that's probably the only guy that he hasn't ranked yet that I'd probably have ahead of Dak, honestly. Demario Davis is one of the best linebackers in the NFL. Wasn't ranked last year, which is insane. I probably reacted to that. If I made a video on this list last year, I definitely probably said you're insane for that. Because Demario Davis has been one of the best linebackers consistently in the NFL at a position that is hard to be consistent in, linebacker, right? So he's one of the league's leaders of their defense and one of the leaders of their defense and one of the more underrated players in the league. He excels in both pass coverage and in the run game and blitzing too. The only issue, he is 35. Okay, yeah, he's 35, but he's been great for like 10 years. So can you give him some respect yet? Right? Demario Davis, I definitely agree. L'Jarius Sneed, I think, is better than Trent McDuffie, or was last year. He's just more important. Like, he often covered the number 1 guy on the other team a majority of the time. Like, so, that's just my opinion. He did not give up a touchdown the entire season. Lane Johnson at 52, at least he's on the list. Christian Darrisaw, that's an interesting one at number 54. Jalen Hurts, too high, 53. Jalen Hurts, honestly, last year didn't play that well. He had a lot of touchdowns because of the tush push, but other than that, he honestly didn't play that well. I would not have him at 53. He'd probably be in my top 100, but not at 53. Christian Darrisaw, yeah, he's good. I don't know. 54 is maybe a little bit too high. DeMarcus Lawrence at 55. He wasn't ranked last year. That's interesting. He is one of those players who's clearly better than his sack numbers. I definitely agree with that. He just had 4 last year and 10 the past 2 years, but he piles up pressures and he excels in the run. He's one of the best run defenders in the NFL, absolutely. I definitely think he is a top 100 player, but at 55, that might be too high. Frank Ragnow, 56 is fair. Laramie Tunsil, I'd have ahead of Christian Darrisaw, for sure. Sam Laporta at 58 is insane. Sam Laporta ahead of Mark Andrews? That's crazy. That's crazy. Sam Laporta at 58? Whoa, that's crazy. He's good, don't get me wrong, but I do not think of him as that good of a player. At 58th best player in the NFL? As a rookie, he established himself as one of the best receiving tight ends in the league with 86 catches and 10 touchdowns. He's just scratching the surface of what he can do as a receiver, which is scary for opposing defenses. Maybe I'm underrating him, but 58 is pretty crazy, bro. 58 for a rookie tight end? Derek Brown at 59, the guy that doesn't get any sacks, but is excellent against the run. Yeah, top 70 for sure, I think. Charvarius Ward, I like that he's on the list. Might be a little too high. Mark Andrews should be above Sam Laporta. I mean, come on. Trevor Lawrence at 62 is stupid. Why is Trevor Lawrence on this list? Can somebody please explain the Trevor Lawrence thing? I really don't get it. Okay, let's just talk about it. The 2023 season was a disappointment, including injury. He threw 21 touchdowns and 14 interceptions, which would be a decent season in 2000. Like, how is he on the list? He didn't do anything. He wasn't good last year. Like, guys, let's be fair. Javon Holland, definitely on this list. Good ranking after not being ranked last year. Battled through some injuries last season. Never looked comfortable in the Vic Fangio scheme, but is a talented player who will play a feature role for Anthony Weaver. He might be a little high, I guess, maybe, but yeah, he's really good. Jair Alexander, he's just weird because he's inconsistent. Like, at times he's not playing, he's injured, or like he doesn't play his best, but then at other times when he plays man coverage, he's excellent. Like, at times he's the best corner in the league, so he's kind of a weird player. Tua at 65 is an absolute joke. Nobody in their right mind thinks Tua is a top 100 player. There are like 20 quarterbacks in the NFL that could put up numbers like Tua in that offense. Like, come on. Like, Tua and Trevor Lawrence in the top 100? Man, they're not top 100 players. I don't care that their quarterback, Puka Nacua, is way better, bro. Puka Nacua, if I think he's better than Matthew Stafford, he's damn well better than Tua and Trevor Lawrence. Where is Matthew Stafford, by the way? Can we just stop shitting on Matthew Stafford for once? Can I watch one video, see one article, one thing that does not shit on Matthew Stafford? If he's not on this list, I'm going to lose my mind. TJ Hawkinson at number 67. I do think TJ Hawkinson is a top 100 player. George Pickens is not a top 100 player. He's a good player. He's not a top 100 player. 63 catches in an offense that struggled to have good quarterback play. 63 catches. 18.1 yards per catch is insane. I will say that. But he's just too inconsistent. He's a big play player that I don't think has any consistency. He was more of a yak threat than I gave him credit for previously this past season. And he is a great jump ball receiver. But I don't think he's a top 10 to 12 receiver in the NFL, which is what it suggests by this list. So I think he's around number 12, which is insane. Like, I don't think he's the 12th best receiver in the NFL. He might be close to the top 20, but Rashawn Slater just needs to stay healthy. I may be a little bit too high. Christian Barmore getting some love on the list. Love to see that. On a bad team, he was a bright spot last season. He's on the verge of becoming a dominant defensive player. I love that he's on the top 100. Applause to Pete Prisco for having Christian Barmore on the top 100. Beast. I am probably the only Patriots player on this list, but shout out. Minka Fitzpatrick probably should be higher. He's been a little bit injured, but great player. Garrett Wilson, I think he could be a top 100 player. That's not bad. He might be a little bit too high. Montez Sweat at 73, I think is probably fair. Devin Witherspoon, has he proven that he's a top 100 player? I mean, last year as a rookie, he was really good. What does he say here? As a rookie last season, he stepped in and was an immediate impact player. He played mostly in the slot, and quickly established himself as a physical presence who could cover. It'll be interesting to see how new coach Mike McDowell, I definitely think he'll be a top 100 player this year. The only question is, like, he was really good last year. PFF graded him well. Like, his coverage was pretty good. He did make some plays. I do wonder if he was, like, deserving of the spot, though. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think of that one. Tyler Smith at 75, another kind of rookie controversial pick. Again, he's obviously going with a little bit of a projection here. So you definitely see the projection push based on some of the players on this list. But Tyler Smith, I definitely think was really good last year. So I'm not really going to debate that. If you're looking for a young rising star on the offensive line, Smith is it. He has settled in nicely at left guard and should get better in his full season starting there. Jared Goff, I like that he's on the list. 76. He probably would be in the lower end of my top 100, so I don't disagree with that. Nico Collins at 77, definitely think he's top 100. Christian Wilkins should be higher, in my opinion. Christian Wilkins had 12 and a half sacks at defensive tackle. So yeah, he's definitely better than 78. Khalil Mack had 17 sacks last year on a crap defense. Like, I get that he's 33 and age is starting to become a concern, but man, he was unreal last year. So I think he deserves to go up the list. Derek Stingley Jr., after a disappointing 2022 rookie season, he flashed potential last year for the Texans. He is a long corner who's capable of matching up in man coverage. Yeah, I think Stingley probably wouldn't be in my top 100, but he probably will be after this year. That's probably what I would say. At 81, Deebo Samuel, okay. Yeah, I think he's probably top 100. Devontae Smith, he's probably not in my top 100, but I don't necessarily think he's a bad spot. Trey McBride might... Trey McBride. That's definitely another projection. Trey McBride at number 83. Like, yeah, he's good, but, I mean, 800 yards is like top 100 player in the NFL. I don't know, man. Like, starting to give tight ends a little bit too much love on this list. DJ Moore's better than Trey McBride. He's had like 6 1,000-yard seasons already. So, he had 96 catches, which was the best of his career last year in the first season with the Bears. But the best thing about him is his big playability being evident, 14.2 yards per catch. Yeah, he's big play all over the field. Like, DJ Moore is definitely better than Trey McBride. Like, come on. Brock Purdy, definitely on the top 100. What does he say? He excels in the 49ers offense, which is already a caveat. Okay, just saying. He already put the caveat, first 4 words of the paragraph. Putting to the rest any talk that he couldn't do it again after a rookie season in 2022. He came back to throw 31 touchdowns in 2023 and led the 49ers to a Super Bowl. He is perfect for what they do on offense, another caveat. He averaged 9.6 yards per attempt, which is insane, by the way. He led the NFL. Yes, he definitely gets helped by the scheme, Pete. He definitely gets helped by the talent, but he certainly is a top 100 player. Don't disagree with the ranking at 85. At number 86, Joe Thuney, definitely top 100. No debate. He's been top 100 for like 6 years. Jordan Love, I don't think he's top 100. If he is, he's probably like 95, like probably just getting inside the list and probably a projection. Like, I would say Jordan Love is probably like top 100 if you're ranking it going into next year and really strongly pushing in a Packer agenda. He's top 100. But I feel like the consistency of last year, especially at the beginning, he didn't play well enough to say that he's top 100. I would say that we just put too many quarterbacks in a top 100 list. Like, we shouldn't have 15 quarterbacks in a top 100. You know what I mean? Like, 10 is fine. Like, it's just too many players at the same position just because they're a quarterback. Mike Evans is definitely better than the 88th player in the NFL. I mean, what does Mike Evans have to do to be rated higher than 88 at this point? Like, last year I thought was one of the best seasons of his NFL career, and he's a Hall of Famer. Okay, the Bucs re-signed the veteran receiver in large part because he's a big play threat to their offense. He had 13 touchdowns. Again, 13 and 15.9 yards per catch. Somehow this guy's not better than Jalen Waddle. Okay? 10th season. He's gone over 1,000 yards in 10 straight seasons, and he's the 88th best player in the NFL. Make that make sense. Alim McNeil, I love that he's on the list. I don't know if he'd be on my list, but that's a good mention. That's a good shout. I definitely like that. He had a breakout season in 2023, flashing an ability to stop the run. I don't know about Trey Smith being in the top 100. I think he's a very good player that's on a very good, like the best team in the NFL. So that's probably why he's on the list. But I don't really remember a lot of top 100s that had Shaq Mason on it. So I don't know. Trey Smith is like a really, really darn good, solid player, but I don't know if I'd have him in the top 100. Derrick Henry definitely deserves to still be on the list. He was still great last year. A new team should help him. Give him a fresh start. Playing with Lamar Jackson will help his numbers. He was second in the league in rushing. Yeah, so again, like definitely deserves to be on it. Tyrann Mathieu is overrated at this point. I don't see him as a top 100 player. Jalen Carter, projection or no projection, is probably top 100 player in the NFL, so I like that. He started the 2023 season as a player who could potentially dominate the minute he stepped onto the field, but it tailed off. I definitely agree with that. Zach Martin is way better than 94. Come on, man. Zach Martin, I was actually doing, I'm doing my top 5 players of all time at every single team. And Zach Martin was actually in that discussion for the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, who have about 25 Hall of Fame players. Zach Martin was like 3rd in all pros for the Dallas Cowboys franchise. So I don't care that he's getting a little bit older. He's still a top 50 player in the NFL. Jeffrey Simmons, definitely top 100. Brian Burns would not be in my top 100 based on last year. I don't think he played well enough. Levante David, yes. Kirk Cousins, probably not, honestly, just because of the Achilles injury. Will Anderson, yeah, maybe. That's an interesting one. I do like the 99th selection, and Tyler Linderbaum at 100 is totally fair. I think he's a top 5 center in the NFL. Honorable mentions. Let's see if he missed anybody that I really feel like should be on this list. So Jonathan Taylor, probably will be next year, if we're being honest, but based on last year, no. Dre Greenlaw, maybe. Evan Ingram would not be on my list. T. Higgins would not be on my list. Tyron Smith would probably be on my list based on last year. Andrew Thomas, probably not. Jahmyr Gibbs, probably not. Quentin Nelson would be on my list. Terry McLaurin, probably not. Brian Branch, probably not. Kobe Turner, probably not. Quincy Williams would be on my list. Calvin Ridley would not. Paulson Adebo would not. Alex Highsmith would probably not. Matthew Stafford's not on the damn list. Can somebody please... Bro, can we stop with the Matthew Stafford hate? Like, what does this guy have to do? We didn't even know anyone on his defense last year. We didn't even know who Puka Nacua was. And yet he's not on the damn list. Like, come on, dude. David Njoku would probably not be on my list, but I like that he's mentioned here. Quinn Miners would not be on my list, but I like the mention. Cooper Kupp would not be on my list. Xavier McKinney might be on my list. Patrick Queen, nah. Saquon, probably not. Joey Bosa, probably not. Jonathan Allen, maybe. Aaron Jones, no. Bijan, if I'm basing it on projection, yes, but not based on last year. Travis Etienne, no. Kyron Williams would be on my list because of last year and this year. Joel Bitonio, probably at the end. CJ Mosley would definitely be on my list. Landon Dickerson, no. Alua Khan, maybe. Keenan Allen, maybe. Kyle Duggar, no. Even though I love him. Michael Pittman, no. Jalen Phillips, no. Matt Milano, probably. If I have Aaron Rodgers, injured man, on my list, I probably have Matt Milano. Cameron Hayward, definitely on my list. Not even a question. Bobby Okereke, no. Javon Hargrave, I don't know. Probably not. Derwin James, no. Buckner, yes, would be on my list. That is one of the worst ones I've seen. Amari Cooper, no, but I love him. Robert Hunt, no, but I like the honorable mention. D-Hop, no. Rashawn Gary, yeah, probably at the end. Denzel Ward, probably at the end. Raheem Mostert, no. Deron Bland, you know who might be on my list is Trayvon Diggs, but obviously he got hurt. So, yeah, this is a pretty good list. It's overall a pretty good list. I think Pete did overall a pretty good job. I'm not even going to hate. There was a couple things that I didn't like about it, but especially the introduction. I don't know why the guy had to go off on that, but can somebody can somebody do a Matthew Stafford? How did he become underrated again? What is going on? Anyways, guys, Gronk spiked the like button. Thank you guys for watching. It's Mitch. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.